We're continuing with 11:23. The desire of the righteous ends only in good, but the hope of the wicked only in wrath. Again, it speaks here to the reality of God's reaction to what occurs in the life of humans. We who have been saved, we will only produce good. All that is evil, God takes care of, cleans away. But those who are wicked, who have designs for the future, that is hope, their designs fail because they go against God, and all who go against God receive God's grapes of wrath, right? They receive God's punishment. 24. One man gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. This seems to go against this principle: a penny saved is a penny earned, right? No, God blesses, and he says he's going to bless according to his design. We have principles, again, which he has set up from before time began, which we follow, and they tend to have certain consequences. But when we give away, God says, no, I'm going to continue blessing you. And in fact, I love the fact that you give. I'm going to bless you all the more. It says those who are good with little, they're going to be blessed with more. Now, this doesn't always mean money. I probably am not one of the wealthier people in the world, but I have been blessed with little, and I've been blessed with more. So hopefully that means I've been good with little, and now God, because I have been kind, Lord willing, according to his grace, he continues to bless me, and my blessings grow daily. Now, when you withhold from people, it looks like, hey, I'm being good about saving. But notice the unduly unholds. It's not that you give away to people so that they can buy alcohol or drugs or these sort of things. But when you unduly withhold, you see someone in need and you say, I could give to them and they really do need help, or I could save it up and I'll become wealthy. Often what happens is a crash. Certainly what happens ultimately is an ultimate crash. You receive the wrath of God. So when you become that wrapped up in yourself and in your own money, it can lead to poverty. It can lead to your losing track of those who otherwise would have helped you in time of crisis. People who seek to hurt you when otherwise you would have had people helping you. Let's go on to 25. A generous man will prosper. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. This is continuing that same theme. When you help out others, they help out you. When you're generous, people want you to do well. They come to your business more. They spend more. And again, they have good word of mouth. So be generous. Don't be a skinflint. 26. People curse the man who hoards grain, but blessing crowns him who is willing to sell. Yes, it looks like a good idea. I'm going to save up my grain, and then when the market is empty, I'm going to sell it for huge amounts. Well, there's nothing wrong with that if there is enough. But if there isn't enough, you're producing hunger in people when it is time to feed them. And really, we need to take not only the outlook of ourselves, we also want to look for our customers. What do they need? Do they need toilet paper? Let's not hoard all the toilet paper when the toilet paper is scarce. People will love you for selling the toilet paper at that proper time. So, yes, the mechanics of supply and demand would imply always seek more demand by withholding supply. But the reality is we love other people. And so it's not all about getting the most out of them. We want a good amount out of them, and they want a good product out of us. A good labor producing a good profit. But we don't want to hurt them by having scarcity when it's unnecessary. 27. He who seeks good finds goodwill, but evil comes to him who searches for it. All right, here's a principle. The principle is, if you're seeking after the things of God, you're going to find the things of God. If you're seeking after the things of the world, you're going to find the things of the world. If you're seeking after a party girl, you're going to find a party girl. If you're seeking after a person who is steady and loving and trustworthy, you're going to find someone who's steady and loving and trustworthy. Often, we get exactly what we ask for. Those who go to hell ask for themselves to be God so that they can depend on themselves, and they get exactly what they ask for, and it's terrible. Those going to heaven, well, we thank the Lord and ask him for Christ and living with him, and we get that too. So there's a principle here. There's the old saying, dress for the job that you want. Well, seek after the things that you want that are good, because you'll probably find them. All right, 28. Whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf. So it's interesting where the times when riches are a bulwark, a wall, guarding those who are rich. And we have other passages which say wealth, here in Proverbs, which says that wealth can solve all problems. But here it says, if you trust in your riches, you will fall. Wealth has purpose, and having a lot of wealth can solve a lot of problems presently. But ultimately, we need to trust in God. We need to trust him above all things. So instead of acting in manners where we protect our wealth or we use our wealth to protect us, we need to act in a manner where we follow God's principles for the use of wealth, sometimes conserving it and saving it for a rainy day, giving it duly to those who need, not trying to make artificial scarcities when that would hurt others. Because if you just depend on your wealth, eventually that becomes your God, and ultimately that leads to hell. That's where Jesus talks about it's harder for a rich man to enter through the eye of the needle than to enter heaven. So if you trust in your wealth, you're going to fall, you're going to go to hell. But the righteous will thrive like a green leaf, because God is feeding them. God is constantly feeding blessings. And so the green leaf, it grows, it gets beautiful, and it supplies energy for the tree. All right, let's move to 29. He who brings trouble on his family will inherit only wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise. Well, the first principle, if you bring trouble on your family isn't going to have anything left for you by the time your family goes to their rest. And because you brought trouble, first of all, they won't want to leave you anything, and second of all, you'll destroy what they have. So you want to help out your family, right? Ultimately, in the long run, it's not just good for them, and that's the real reason you should help them. It's also good for you. And the fool will be servant to the wise. Again, if you're profligate, so we have the story of the prodigal son where he goes off and spends all his wealth and comes back. If he didn't have the mercy of God and the forgiveness of God, he would have been servant to his older brother who had been wise in his use of wealth. When you're a fool with money, eventually you get hugely in debt, right? 30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise. So, as a pastor, I'm wise. As long as I speak what God would have me speak. Our church is a tree of life. It's a place where people receive God into the future and eternity, but also now. And they receive the principles now, which allow them to live lives where they help others and grow. When you win souls, that means when they come into the family of God, what a beautiful thing that is as the church grows. In the last verse of 11, if the righteous receive their due on earth, how much more the ungodly and the sinner? So that if's a big deal, right? We don't always receive our due, but if we do receive our due, so the righteous sin, and God punishes them. My footnote here notes that some of the Old Testament fathers, like David and Moses, received a punishment here on earth. Though God ultimately forgave them and they received forever glory in heaven. Well, if he's going to do that to those he loves, what's he going to do to those who have turned their back on him and aren't going to even receive ultimate glory? What did he do to Pharaoh as he tried to cross the Red Sea? The punishment came. Don't think that God is mocked and that just because he holds in abeyance his justice, that means justice won't happen. Epstein eventually was punished. And likewise others. Now, there's an ultimate punishment, and as I say, if is the big word here, because in the timely sense, it may not happen in what we think is a good timing, but it will happen in God's time. So, be righteous, because it's so much scarier if you're not, the wrath of God. All right, we are going to stop there, and next time we'll start with chapter 12.